Hi gentlemen, this is Mr. Holding, and this quick video is a follow-up from the overview for Task 1 Year 7 Chemistry. With this one we're specifically having a look at what the aim and hypothesis is, and what a hypothesis is and how to do one, as well as the dependent independent variables. So first of all, before we sort of look at a hypothesis, we need to know what we're looking at. So for an introduction, an introduction is some background information. So it's not about saying the assignment is going to do this or that. It's about just the topic, and in this case it's water chemistry and solubility. So in chemistry, mixtures are a combination of several different substances. Mixtures can be made by combining solids and gases, liquids, or liquids and gases. Alright, a solution is a special type of mixture. Solutions are made when one substance, the solute, is dissolved into another. The solvent, water, is a good example of a solvent, as many chemicals dissolve in it. So it's basic background information. The term for substances that dissolve in a liquid are soluble, while those that do not dissolve are called insoluble. You've got an in-text reference there. Different solutes will have different abilities to dissolve in different solvents. So that's just background information. Now we get to the aim, which is why are we doing this assignment? And so the aim, we always start with to. So to do something, to test, to investigate, to determine, or in this case, to test whether various substances are soluble, as in do they dissolve, in water and in alcohol. So we're actually testing two things there. We're testing to see whether the substances dissolve in water and if they dissolve in alcohol. So that's an important thing to remember when we go down and we talk about variables. So that's our aim. A hypothesis is basically an educated guess or a prediction based on your aim. So our aim is to determine whether substances dissolve in water and in alcohol. So our hypothesis needs to be, which of these substances here do we think are going to dissolve in water? Alright? And which of them, they're the same ones, are going to dissolve in alcohol. Now in this case we've written most of it for you, but the better you get, you're actually going to have to write, it is expected that in water, A, B, C, and D will dissolve, and in alcohol, will dissolve. But because this is our first time, we're just going to do it. So your job in this case is to go, okay, well, I think in water, maybe salt, sugar, coffee, maybe, not too sure, they will dissolve, and you just tick them, and then go, I expect that in alcohol, and we'll use methylated spirits, the following substance will dissolve. Do you think salt will? Do you think copper will? Do you think sugar will? And so you just tick it. So you're making predictions based on your prior understanding and your prior knowledge. So it's not just a random guess. You're using knowledge to make a prediction. So that's how we do our hypothesis. The next thing we need to look at is our variables. Now, there's two types of variables. Well, there's three really. There's dependent variables, there's independent variables, and there's what's called controlled variables. Now, controlled variables are things that we keep the same. So we purposely keep them the same to make it a fair test. Now, if you go up here, you can see that for both water and for alcohol, they both have salt. They both have copper sulfate. They both have sugar. They both have iodine. They both have coffee, and they both have flour. And they're both getting tested with exactly the same thing. So we would say that's a controlled variable. The substance is being dissolved. We're controlling that so that we can see that it's a fair test. We don't have to write them down here, but that's good to know. So what we need to now do is identify the dependent and the independent variable. Now the key is for your independent variable, I always do the independent variable first. And the question is, what are we doing? What are we purposely changing to get an effect? If we go back up here to test whether various substances are soluble in water and in alcohol, the thing that is changing, that we are changing, is the water and the alcohol. So we look at that and go, the independent variable is what we're changing. So you need to identify that up here and go, well, we're changing one test, we're going to use water, and one test we're going to use alcohol. So that could be an independent variable. The dependent variable depends hence the term, depends on what we did. Okay, so if we've changed this and then the outcomes are different, well, we would expect that one will be soluble and one will be insoluble based on what we chose. Okay, so our independent variables are the things that we purposely change to get an effect in an experiment. The dependent variables are what results, for want of a better term, what results as a result of what we have done. Okay, so your job now is to obviously go through and do your hypothesis. Which of these do you think will dissolve in water? So remember, it's water written there. And which of these will dissolve in alcohol? And then you need to identify your independent variables, the things that we are purposely changing. Okay, and then the dependent variables, what is going to change as a result of what we have done on purpose. Okay, so like your results sort of thing. All right, so hopefully you found this useful. That's your introduction, aim, hypothesis, and the variables there. If you have any questions, of course, please come see me.